The summer and stepped on this day. January was, yeah, at least 40% more than last year. That's once it's long. I'm just like, go hockey times. Don't get rid of it. Oh, really? It's good. Which is good. Slow good emails there, but it's just going to isn't able to take increases sometimes. Barney, how you doing?
Oh, just not perfect.
About perfect or not perfect?
I'm gonna say absolutely. Still some wiggle room. How you doing?
Living the dream.
Anything unusual going
Bryce.
on? Not very much.
Yeah.
All time?
Well, I just love another plan. Use it to commute to and from Austin every week.
Okay.
Yeah, I still apply quite a bit. So teach some people.
Glad to hear it. Yeah.
I'm trying not to do that.
We'll go out there. That's okay. It is excellent. Unfortunately, it's not that many steps.
Ready, set, go.
Ready, set, go.
Call to order the City of Port Aransas Planning and Zoning Commission meeting Tuesday, February the 7th at 3:04 p.m. There we go. Thank you. Is this a new pad?
Sorry, it's been a very busy couple of days.
Understood. Citizen comments and reports. At this time, comments will be taken from the audience on any subject matter. Please limit comments to 3 minutes. In accordance with the Open Meeting Act, the Planning and Zoning Commission may not discuss or take action on any item that not been posted on the agenda. Luke Daly, Will Daly, is there a preference of which order are you guys going?
I say that first one back.
There you go.
I'll maintain my lead. Will Daly, and thank you all for being here. Appreciate it, especially after your last week when we didn't come to
Address,
see
please.
you.
Physical
My address,
please.
619 Avenue B. And what I came to speak about was flexible unit developments. We have several challenges here in town. One is density and the other is parking. You know, I think we're looking to address that. Perhaps we'll solve that in the comprehensive plan. I would kind of caution that, keep your hope reasonable. Those are problems, but now on the other hand, you're here again, and I don't want you to go too hard on Nicole and Rick. If they were perfect, everything would have come out fine, but none of us are perfect. So thank you for being here. Thank you for your time. Be considerate of these concerns about density and parking, and make sure in any flexible unit developments that there's stipulations that run with the deed so that 50 years from now, we can, you know, if somebody's still here, that those are enforceable actions. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Daly.
Luke Daly, same address. My concern is that without any public notice, you folks decided to change the meeting time from 5 p.m. to 3 p.m. And I would like to know, I know you can't answer now, what was the rationale for that? Because when your decisions affect whole neighborhoods, they affect the character of this town, they affect the future of this town, and when you are making it more difficult for the public to attend, to speak their minds, to find out what's going on next door, then you are really cutting off the public. Even though you're not paid, you're here to serve the public good. And that's not what's been happening. You will not believe how many people say to me, I hate what's happening to Port Aransas. And the reason these people are saying this is because decisions that are made right at this place from people who have made a lot of money already, but it's not enough. They need to make more. Port Aransas has still got some space, and we don't need to throttle the golden goose until the golden goose can't lay any more eggs. And that's just what's happening. People are not going to want to come to Port Aransas if they can't drive. If they can't move, if they can't park, if there's people having parties all night and keeping them awake. And that's what's happening when you allow all these little here, little there, less parking, less open space, higher density, this and that. You can save this town or you can destroy it. And letting people have everything they want, letting developers have everything they want is what's going to destroy Port Aransas. It's happened before. People are screaming about California. Don't Californicate Texas. But that's just what's happening. When you just take everything you can get, cram as many people in as you can, that's what's going to destroy Port Aransas. That's what's going to destroy Texas. You need to keep some elbow room. Thank you very much. Oh, and 3 p.m. is not a time when people can get to these meetings. It's very difficult. It's hard enough getting to city council in this meetings at 5 o'clock for real people that have to work, that have kids, that have to have, their homes. For working people that have to put down their work and stop what they're doing and change their clothes and come in. And I don't think you should be meeting at 3 p.m. That's another way of cutting off the public from what goes on here in this town. And your job is to help the public understand that and make it clear to them why you're making these decisions. Thank you.
That was perfect timing.
Kathy?
Hi, Kathy Fulton, right now, 1220 C Secret. I wrote it down this time. Anyway, one of the first things I do want to say is that I agree very much with Luke on this deal about changing these meetings to 3. It is hard to stop everything to come in the 3 o'clock to try to get here for that. I mean, I worked my schedule. I was here at the last meeting at 5 because that's what was posted. That is what was posted on the 72-hour agenda, and it didn't happen. Nobody was here. Everything was dark and blacked out. So I do believe that it makes it that much harder for the public to show, for the public to participate. And I personally think that this is a way to thwart public participation because some people just don't want to hear it anymore. So I am also requesting that these meetings at least go back to 5 and preferably 5:30 to make it easier. Most other little towns around here have their meetings at 6 now, but 5 at least would work, works better for a lot of people. On the agenda items themselves, on Mr. Lafayette's flex proposal over there, I want to compliment him for proposing to have a concept with some long-term housing in what I think is apartments. I was able to watch the meeting to kind of get a better idea, and I think that's a great thing. It's still in the concept stages, and I hope that he can look at it in various ways. But when it comes to parking, we can't continue any longer to allow variances in parking, no matter whether it's long or short term. And the reason is because here's the city buying up property with taxpayer money and buying up property and to put in parking lots. And so essentially, if we keep allowing reductions in parking, a variance, we're subsidizing, the city is subsidizing the parking now for private business, whether it's a long-term or short-term. And that's not right. We need to stick with whatever's on the books right now. That needs to be mandatory. So I'm not saying the flex deal is bad, but I do believe that ask is something that needs to be denied. I would also say I would not, as you well know, would not want to see a reduction in the very small amount of green space that's there anyway. It's not that much. So I really wouldn't want to see that at all. And also, and by the way, I will say this, I see how Mr. Lafayette could probably easily rework things a little bit where the parking would work out anyway without any reduction. just maybe needs to look at it in a different point of view. Also on the Las Brisas flex, I do believe that that needs to be denied. There is no public benefit. And I can also see how that one can be corrected for having the road be wide enough. And I just think people need to look at this differently. All right, there's no public benefit.
Would say anybody else, but Joellen? That's the only other citizen here. All right, with that, moving on to item 3.1, discuss and take action on minutes from the Tuesday, January 3rd, 2023 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.
Say it again. I apologize for the third.
The January 3rd meeting.
So those are the ones that were emailed to you guys originally prior to the previous meeting that you wanted to postpone. Somebody did not see those ahead of time.
I wasn't here.
We
so
can
I-
still push it. I mean, if you guys want to, we do not have the next agenda item, those minutes. I've been too busy over the last 4 days.
Everybody who was at the January 3rd meeting looked at it.
Gone through them and not.
Okay,
I opened
not a big
it, but
deal.
I didn't read them all.
I can stick them, I can stick both of those meetings on the next agenda.
So the same with the 26th.
Yeah, 26th I haven't sent out at all. So
Oh, okay.
to approve those would be crazy because
Mo-
those haven't been written.
Moving on to item 3.3, discuss and take action on Flex 23-000052 flexible development request applicant Brandon Lafayette, property location 318 6th Street.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, so let me preface both of these items with again, just an explanation to the public as to our mistake that created the posting error. So the Civic Web software that we use, and I explained this to council and city manager, of course, that we have to use for all agendas, all departments, all agendas, is a template form. And so the template, once you guys voted to change the meeting time, we did not change it. We did not change the template. We changed the time as we prepared the agenda, but every time we added to it or made a change and reposted it, the original template came back up. And so the first couple efforts, and we do this multiple times to the agenda. We'll change it several times before the final agenda is there.
Well, we don't change the agenda. We
Well,
change
we
the
change-
packet
we change-
information that
Yeah,
attaches
the
to it
topics
as we
and
get it
the
in.
attachments, all of the items as they come in over the course of time, sometimes later than sooner. But every time that happens and we attach something to the agenda, it gets republished new. Well, the last one, the final version of that got republished with the template and we didn't change the date. Public hearing was correct, which is, like I said, at least a small saving grace. A public hearing announcement was posted correctly and was in the paper correctly. But the agenda time itself was incorrect. But that's why the template, and not that it's several departments have had the same issue, not that that's like I said, there's no excuse.
But now we
that's-
know.
But that's what happened. We did get the template changed. And again, just again for the public record, the item of the meeting change time was on an agenda. Obviously, it was posted. It was posted properly, correctly, plenty of chance to be seen by the public. I don't believe we had anybody come and speak on it. I think part of the discussion, those can go back and look, part of the discussion we had as a refresher was that we just didn't have, for people that quote, hate what is happening to the city so much, we never had anybody showing up at that time frame. Virtually everything that's done here in planning and zoning is a recommendation of some form or another that does go to council. So you're the first step in the process that ultimately ends at the city council meetings, which right now is at 5 o'clock and provides that other opportunity. So I just want that, out there. Like I said, it doesn't matter to us, but that was part of the process for the audience here as to how we, how you got to that meeting time. So anyway, with that said, so again, with that area out of an abundance of caution, we wanted to bring these two items back. There was just no reason not to, to just be visited again in the public forum, where everybody had an opportunity to come in and comment again, even though, like I said, the public hearing was correctly announced, and I don't believe anybody spoke on these two at the public hearing that was properly posted.
And just as a refresher, that public hearing does go into the newspaper, onto the bulletin board, and is sent to the surrounding 200 foot of property owners. So they received those notices both prior to the PNC meeting and prior to the council meeting. which is gonna happen on the 23rd after
Right.
ours.
But we still thought we had the ample opportunity. We could gather quorums. We just wanted to bring them back and just make sure that that you guys, that it was properly put before the public again. So
There you go.
there you go. That's it. Are there,
Nothing's changed?
yeah, nothing's changed. So I don't know if you want to. Well, with that explanation, I'll turn it back over to you. This is just an exact same presentation over what you saw 2 weeks ago.
Does any commissioner have anything that we need that they'd like to discuss again?
What's that?
I do want to also offer up one thing too, and it's not, I don't know that it's been part of the meetings. I mean, part of the motions necessarily, but any concession that's made with respect to density, there was a comment made, we would require that be done in perpetuity. Like I said, that's kind of been a non-starter. It's not one of those things that, as long as the proposed use that's brought forward via the flex is still in place, then yeah, that's whatever concession, that quid pro quo, that is in perpetuity. We write that in there and it's quote deed restricted. Which I agree with whoever made the comment, it absolutely should be there. If it's worthy of the change, then it should be pretty inflexible.
Marty, all I was saying is, did anybody have any further discussion from the last time we discussed it?
Yeah, I just wanted to stress, just my opinion. I think the thing about parking, every time we mess with parking and require less parking, it seems like we're automatically putting more cars on the street. You can't park on the street, but you do park on the street. And so to give the variance to the parking is giving, adding an advantage to people who want less parking so they can have more housing. So I'm kind of against that. I see a couple of ways that the parking on, like at the Brandon's project down there, could be left alone and he could still accomplish what he's doing. That would be up to Brandon, sort of like to go along unless we say no. We don't want to reduce the parking in this place.
Yeah, you weren't at the last meeting and stuff, right? But this thing's actually asking for 4 essential variances. The density, the landscaping, the parking and the fire,
He
right?
was here.
Pardon?
He was here.
Yeah.
I was not here, but I did watch.
So, yeah, I mean, in all honesty, you could rework it pretty easily, I think, and not need a variance for the landscaping, green space and the parking. The fire and the density, I don't think he has to get those if the projects go forward and stuff. So
Thank you for your opinion.
just.
Yeah.
We're also asking about the fire marshal's email. He said, I think you're okay on that. And the 20-foot would be fine as long as nobody parks in there. Of course, there's a red line, so that nobody's gonna park there ever. He thinks it's okay. Could we not have something more definitive?
So he's going to be hesitant to give you a definitive answer without seeing a definitive set of plans.
I'm sorry.
He's not going to be able to, so people call us all the time and they ask us, well, I've got this much property. Can I build this many things? And we say, well, generally you probably can, but until I see the documentation, the plans, the survey, all of that. So Nathan's not going to give him a solid answer until he is actually reviewing those.
And
real
regardless of what action you take, we're not going to give him a permit unless he gets that definitive written statement from the fire marshal that he can achieve that. Like I said, it doesn't matter what you approve or not. It's always subject to down the line
building permit approval.
fire safety and all of those other things. So like I said, if at some point he can't achieve that, then he has to make a change. And of course, any changes then comes back anyway.
I would like.
That's a non-starter.
To approve the flexible development with consideration to revisiting the landscape, greenscaping and parking for final submittal. I mean, the flexible development per se with the density and the fire, I think should go. So I'll make that motion if somebody wants to approve or second it, that's fine. If not, that's fine too.
Trying to figure out how to do the consideration. part.
Yeah.
Who does the consideration?
I think it's
So-
just a recommendation of. for the city
Yeah,
council.
typically you can't put conditions on it at P and Z that you want council to have the same conditions with a plat. This is not a
Yeah, it's
plat,
not a
so it's
plat.
a little different.
Well, I guess it could be noted, right? It'd be noted in the minutes.
But noted how? I guess I'm confused as to what you're
We just
saying.
need to know how to present, I mean, what exactly you want. Generally, yes, but parking, I mean, my preference would be you guys just have a further discussion on the parking. Because again, it's part of the whole flex development concept. Is the long-term apartments
Right.
worthy of that reduction
So the
in
question on
parking?
the table is really yes or no on the proposal as drafted.
Or,
Yes.
It's
yeah,
the easiest unless you want to make a solid change to it, not just a take this under consideration.
Has there even been a second here?
No.
Okay,
Barney
I
seconded.
seconded.
Okay.
I guess we
I'm
need
trying to
to.
work out the way to make the proposal.
yeah, we just want to try to figure out how to present it without misrepresenting what you guys want.
I would make a motion to approve the flexible development with relief for density and fire.
So not grant him that,
Not grant parking.
not grant any reduction in parking or landscaping.
Right.
We know the parking can be accomplished on site. They've got 8 spots that they can use that would be off street, but it crosses over the property line between the property line and the right of way, so.
You can't count them.
And
Can't
and so
count
you can't put that as part of your plan because it crosses over that line.
That's correct. That's correct. But there's ways for him to still come into compliance with it. anyways. I went over and talked to him and met with him on it and stuff like that. And he has some options.
Without losing housing.
Well, Barney, our dilemma is, remember, this one has that mixed, it has the retail. I mean, it has the commercial space that we're taking an entire set of parking requirements for that use, plus the residential use. What we struggle with is that we know that there's gonna be, some of that retail use is gonna be the same occupants. It's gonna be the people that are living there are also gonna be using the retail space. But we're duplicating the requirements, so we don't know how much of that. That's why, that's why we mentioned that. The question is it worth getting some long-term apartments, which we know we're lacking,
We made similar concessions with Palladium.
There's just no real way we can chart that type of parking because it's just unknown. I think we made some concessions at one point over at
Castaways.
Castaways parking because of that center. They have retail use.
But
That all ends
for
around
their flex-
spot,
For
but that was for their flex development
Well, no,
apartments.
their flexible development, we reduced the number of parking spots that they needed from 2 per unit to 1 per unit because of the size of them. So
And
similar
I
to
think
what we
this
did
figure's
for
2.25, right?
Palladium, we did a reduction on the parking for the 1-bedroom apartments. And so their parking was reduced,
Well, I believe,
which is working very well.
I mean, anybody, I'm driving every once in a while. Happy.
Okay, but then what happens when everybody's there with their cars and their boats and their trailers and
What happens if it's Christmas?
is that,
Everybody there, there's ones everywhere in the city. And that's, you live with it. During Christmas, if I want to have 50 people, I destroy the parking for my neighbors. That's fine.
We looked at Palladium a lot when we kind of just offered our comments from staff. We just looked at Palladium, what was happening there a lot. And that was kind of our only litmus test recently.
I remember that from the last meeting, so that was maybe, what would you call that, a variance, an adjustment?
Variance.
Yeah, the Palladium was a variance.
It was done through a flexible development approved by Planning and Zoning Council also.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the better examples.
Yeah, Palladium is a good example when you drive through there, like I said, because you just don't see the owners. Well, the long-term people just don't bring the same amount of cars, which is why our 1 parking requirement isn't 1 per bedroom, it's just 2 period.
Sometimes in the houses, they bring the same, the same number of cars, but in apartments, that's typically a different family dynamic and makeup, and they typically
And
have
that's
less
what makes
cars.
calculating this kind of hard for us. Anyway, that's why you guys get to make those decisions, not us.
I think it's great the way it is. We all know that we're just an advisory role. We know that the council's gonna review it, study it. There's some good possible alternatives. I think there's more than enough for the council to be able to look at and make a good decision. That would be. There's a motion on the table.
So we've got a motion on the table and a second. If we take a vote and it fails as condition on the motion, then do we have an opportunity to represent?
Somebody else can make another motion.
Okay. So if that.
Marty, would you just restate it again? I'm sorry.
I would vote to approve flexible development and the associated variance for density and fire, but not approve for the landscaping, greenscapes and the parking.
Okay. Can I ask one thing?
Sure.
I'd prefer you actually not give the variance for fire. Until that I'd rather him look when the final product is done. I know it's a recommendation, but you know what I mean? It gives fire's a big deal, and rather than just offering that variance automatically, I'd rather let the fire marshal make that decision when he sees
Well,
the
he's
final
going to.
package.
Right, I mean, it's part of the process. Once he sees the final plan, he'll make.
Exactly.
All
Okay, if that's what you want to do, that's fine.
right, so let's
Could you
vote.
come?
We can hear you a little bit better. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
That's just his voice.
That's your motion.
So I guess at this point, because it sounds like we're at a little bit of an impasse, we need to call the roll as conditioned and then see if it wants to be presented separately.
So just for the record, that was Marty Phelan's motion and Barney Farley's second.
Yes.
Okay, Mike Dayon,
No.
Craig Scott,
No.
Marty Phelan,
Yes.
Barney Farley,
Yes.
Nick Lorette, Chad Schmidas.
No.
Motion fails.
Hand me your sheet so I can read a motion.
There you go.
Which one?
We're on 3.3.
Yeah, make a motion to approve item 3.3 flexible development 23-000052 as is, as requested.
I'll second.
Okay. Barney Farley,
No.
Nick Lorette,
Yes.
Craig Scott,
Yes.
Mike Dayon,
Yes.
Marty Phelan,
No.
Chad Schmidas.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 3.4, discuss and take action on Flex 22-002610 flexible development request for Las Brisas subdivision applicant Christian Property Holdings LP, property location 2530 South 11th Street.
Again, same drill here. Only comment that I think is pretty significant. Nicole, correct me if I'm wrong. The only reason this is coming forward as a flexible development was because when we made the pretty sweeping Chapter 25 changes back August of last year, that eliminated CUDs and altered NUDs. The only path forward that was left for a private road right now is through the flexible development, for a developer to come up with a project and not have the city take responsibility for that road as was allowed in the NUDs, CUDs and PUDs. PUDs, of course, are still around, but this certainly isn't big enough for a PUD, nor NUD. So the only option to get a private road and take it off the city's hands is through this process. The lots are all post 5,000. They're all bigger than 5,000. Everything else is within our development ordinances other than the road. So that's why this is coming, because that is the only mechanism. Not that we necessarily agree it should be the only way to get a private road. Right now it is. So
This is 1.6 acres, so it's about 0.4 acres too small for a CUD. Current density is 18-19 apartment units.
yeah. So like I said, other than that, it would fall into place with all of our other developmental ordinances. So they're just proposing a private road. Again, has to meet fire code, meet all that. We just They just don't,
road is viewed as a benefit to the city. Understood.
If it's a city, they get a private road and taxation. Because they get the dwelling units tax.
never thought about the taxes, but I guess that's true.
It's income.
Big time.
Sorry to bring out the obvious. But,
I realize the engineer, the owner is not here, but. What is the purpose of the making the road that narrow? Is it to keep the lots at 5,000 feet? But without narrowing the road. They don't get the.
Well, minimum street spec, Barney, if it was a street road's 50 foot,
Sorry.
50 foot right away. So minimum street width is 50 feet. So it would take a 50-foot right away. And very seldom do we see any streets.
It's still a 24-foot street, but it's all
Yeah.
50-foot wide.
Right,
You can't
24
do
foot
that.
street or 30-foot right of way, right?
There's no
Uh,
need for. a road.
Usually 24 or a little bit less. So,
No need for a right of way because it's private.
well,
Yeah.
There will be a
I
rough.
mean, what do you need to?
yeah, we take right of ways for sidewalks and future expansion.
There's no need for it. It's just a,
Why do we have
it's
to
a
do
deep private street. The right of way is for infrastructure and connectivity through the whole city. This is a dead end. There's no need for right of ways in a private development like that. That doesn't have any connect from needing services to go to another place. That's the only reason the city requires
In case we want to expand the road.
And
it for that particular subject.
gas and electric and sewer.
To go through a property to, yeah,
In these cases, they're all underneath the street or sewer lines running.
Yeah.
back over here.
There's,
Okay, so what is there any minimum requirement for a road? Maybe you just told me.
well, fire access
That-
lane has to be 20 feet.
Yeah. Clear pavement 20.
20 feet, 24 feet in different
some
circumstances.
instances. So it's got to be a minimum width to meet fire code. And that's 20 to 24, depending on the type construction they're
The
doing.
minimum width of pavement. Yeah,
Right.
What about the roadway?
that's what we're talking
That's what
about.
I'm talking about, the surface, the roadway, asphalt or concrete.
But the roadway was the entire road.
That's the right of way. The roadway is within the right of way. And like a city streets, it's a 50-foot standard street spec is 50 feet.
Mhm.
Usually with 24-foot pavement to pavement. But there's a good argument that you have to have those city streets that width because Avenue A, Avenue C, you want the ability to expand and or put sidewalks in as we've done. And the only way you can do that is if you own the property. So we've added sidewalks to our right of way. We've not expanded the road necessarily, but we've used that right of way for sidewalks. In this, the street goes in one direction, dead ends. They clearly would be precluded from doing any expansion by the limitation of the road. Their self-imposed limitation of the road width. They couldn't do any expansion in there because they've only asked for a 24 foot,
It's 30 foot. They're showing a 30-foot right away.
30 foot right away. So it's actually a little bigger than a lot of the private developments you saw prior to. A lot of the CUDs didn't have roads that big.
That's good.
That makes sense?
But it's likely to have a road that's as small as those, the
Right.
roadway.
We're looking at 30-foot right of way, right?
30 foot right away with likely a 20 to 24 foot.
20 to 24
roadway.
foot pavement in there, which is about what the city streets have. City streets just have a bigger right of way.
Okay, right of way, that's what Brandon has on his 24 feet.
Mhm.
6 inches. Okay, I'm satisfied.
I'll make a motion to approve item 3.4 flex 22-002610 as requested. I'll second.
Barney Farley,
Yes.
Marty Phelan,
No.
Mike Dayon,
Yes.
Craig Scott.
Yes.
Nick Lorette,
Yes.
Chad Schmidas.
Yes.
Motion carried.
We probably are going to try to find a better solution for this situation in the comprehensive plan, actually write something in to create some mechanism where you can request A non-dedicated
A
road.
private-
or
A private street, some way to develop a private street that's
Rather
not
than force
through any
everybody to do a
variances.
flex.
Right.
Suggest a node.
I did too.
Right.
A node would be a brilliant idea.
I feel like if it was,
It would resolve.
or just to take away the 2 acre requirement for a nud.
All right, item 4, planning and zoning commission comments and items for future consideration.
Just a heads up, we'll bring one of the changes from the workshops for golf carts and STRs. One of them is a parking change, so we'll bring that to you for at the next regular meeting for,
And that's the only thing we
Recommendation.
will bring to you.
right now, that's the only thing.
Oh.
Our meeting is at 3, city council is at 5.
And again, for the audience, it's a proposal to increase the parking requirements a little bit, so trying to chip away at the
And that
At the
date
parking
is,
issues.
The 23rd,
so 4th.
nothing else was submitted, so it's just,
Mhm.
yes. So it's just staff action items at this point. The only thing that could change is if one of the dune permits that you guys have not seen yet, that's just been on hold. Due to not coming to agreement with our engineer, they could magically work something out between now and then, but it's highly unlikely.
All right, with that, I call to adjourn the Port Aransas Planning and Zoning Commission meeting Tuesday, February 27th, 2023 at 3:39 PM.
Thanks, guys. Sorry about this.
Thanks for having us. You have saving binder clips?
How we save city money. Gotta get ready.
Yes, sir. Heading back to Illinois soon. Heading up to New Jersey.